person. All right. All right. So yeah, let's just start. Okay. So welcome to the first class, an introduction of the course of building your first cybersecurity home lab. Um, my name is Victor Fernandez. Minguillon. I have two last names because I'm from Spain. And I will be your instructor here for through this journey on how to build the cybersecurity home lab. I am currently senior red team analyst as one of the largest transportation airlines in the world, based in Chicago. And I had also experience also as a consultant in the past doing consultancy of medical devices and in offensive security. As I just said, offensive security and hardware and software development are my niche um, for this industry, and I'm very happy to share my knowledge that I have with you all. As part of my hobbies, I like to spend time with my family. I have three kids. Five, 3, and 2 right now. And I like to go to cybersecurity conference or as a speaker or as a volunteer. I had the opportunity to speak in big conferences like DEF CON or internationally in back in Spain too. Another type of things that I like to do in my spare time is research and development, hardware and software, as I like the creation of tangible things that I like to touch and see how things work. And a little bit random, but I like miniature gaming, like Warhammer 40K. That is like actually my main board game or like uh, time that I'd like to spend. And that's all about me. Uh, so let's dive into the course. So these, what we're expecting from this course is going to be a hands-on course. So that means that I will be starting doing some theory, and you will be seeing me doing um, some techniques or demonstrations, and then you will have your time or to ask questions or actually do your own hands-on parts during the time here in the 2 hours a week that we have. So we will build our own cybersecurity lab from like bottom to the top, as you will learn how to design, deploy, and also manage environments that mirror real infrastructure. So what we're going to do here is we are going to use the same knowledge that industries the industry uses, so creation of like subnets, networks, or compendium of computers in 6 weeks. So in 2 hour sessions, that give us also 12 CPEs credits, right? So you can actually request that. We also learn about hardware, software, and virtualization tools needed to build our own cybersecurity lab using VirtualBox or VMware, and also Proxmox and AWS. This is interesting. We will cover this a little bit later, more in depth. But VirtualBox and VMware will be using your own computer, and in Proxmox is if something more a little bit more professional. Where we're going to need probably a dedicated server, or if you don't have it, we can actually virtualize that too. We are also going to install, configure, and optimize virtual machines while managing networking, storage, and performance settings. So we will be looking for adding these virtual machines in one specific place of the network. We will be manage the amount of memory and CPU and also storage that they need, so are efficient on your computer. Besides that, we also use Proxmox to create and secure virtual servers and also containers. We will cover also containers with templates, backups, and users controls. So it's a pretty extensive knowledge, like or material on Proxmox if you like the virtualization. And we will also extend your lab into the cloud with AWS. So we will set up the servers, VPCs. We will put some budgets, and we will launch like secure EC2 instances where basically we will creating like an attack defend simulation too. And we finished developing core network skills and learned how to harden and protect your lab from common security risk here at the AWS. Another thing that doesn't appear here, but you will be feel free to stop me, or if you have any questions also, I don't mind like answering right away, or I will put my email also at the end of the presentation. If you have any questions, I'm here to help. I'm here to mentor you guys, and I'm here to make your trip to cybersecurity more easy. So for the agenda of the course, as I said, there's 6 weeks. Where in the week 1 we will have, that is today, we will have an introduction and home lab fundamentals. So we will be covering hardware and software requirements, virtualization environments, see a little bit of overview about that, and also we will understand a little bit of networking basics for the labs. In the week 2, we will be all hands-on local machines. So we will be using or installing VirtualBox and VMware. So we will getting started installation of the software in your computers. We will build a virtual machine, a Kali virtual machine, and also we will change the settings so you guys understand what is the best or make them more efficient for your machines too. In weeks 3 and 4, we will be basically doing practical hands-on on premise using Proxmox on premise servers. That we will be covering like installation. We will tour the console because it's going to be a little bit more different where you previously are going to see in VirtualBox or VMware, where you have like a bunch more options on virtualization. We will also cover containers. What is the difference between a container and a VM? So you will understand in which times you would like to make containers versus virtual VMs. We will also create a new virtual machine there. And in the week 4, we will be using templates, user management, backups and screenshots, use of the firewalls, and a bunch of other materials that Proxmox and is available to. They have a lot of features for that. And weeks 5 and 6, we will have a hands-on on-premise servers using AWS. We will be covering the account creation of AWS's, the I am an admin user, that is the admin user that you will have, CLI or command line interface, in any AWS budgeting. So you don't have to spend a lot of money on AWS. There is a free tier account that we can use those machines. So you don't have to spend money on those. We will also set up the cost, identity and networks also too. And we will be building a VPC or even public and virtual NAT. And we will finally, in the last week, launching our seed EC2 instance. So you will be repeating that work again and again every time that you want to release a machine on the internet too. Any questions so far? Are good? Great. So what are the hardware and software requirements for this course? The required hardware is any laptop or desktop that is 8 gigabytes of RAM and with a minimum of storage between 20 and 40 gigabytes of free storage. I did here like an external hard drive or USB sticks. This is interesting if you don't want to have the virtual machine stored in your in the storage of your desktop or your laptop. You can actually use an external hard drive if you are using USB-C for that. You can also store the backups too. And of course, internet connection is stable, so you can see me and I can understand you if you have any questions. As an optional hardware, I put here also a laptop or a desktop with a little bit more of RAM, 32 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of free storage. I forgot to add it here, but like we are looking for example, also 8 cores of CPU, so we can allocate CPUs for each of the machines too. And required software, everything is free. So VirtualBox or VMware Player, Proximus ISO, or any Ubuntu or Debian distributions too. A little bit of a side note here. I put here VMware Player, but like there should be also a workstation. It's based on your operating system. So I believe it's Player for Windows and Workstation for Macs. So where VirtualBox is for everyone, not depends on the operating system. Both are free, so we will cover also how to install, how to download it too, because sometimes the VMware is a little bit tricky. So this is the first class, right? So we are going to start with the introduction on home-like fundamentals. So everything that we build today basically runs on a virtual machine or like inside of a safe sandbox, right? Basically. So let's break things up and to learn it faster. So why we are want to virtualized or cybersecurity home lab, and there are several reasons for that. We want to develop malware, so we want to isolate malware and tools from a daily machine, or we want to take snapshots, or to basically test, roll back, and repeat, or we basically want to create our clone golden images that we want to spread all around like an environment, right? So we want to test that golden image so we can later put it in different environments. Or maybe we want to build like an Active Directory lab or like an attack defend environment with different computers, like group of Active Directory domains, like a Linux machine, an attacker machine. It's up to you. It's all, there's like different reasons. But the main reason is that we want to test something and put it before we and create something before we put it on a production environment. So in this course, as I said before, we're going to cover 2/3 virtualization environments, right? I'm going to say 2 because like the AWS, it's like literally like an infrastructure like part. It's not actually a virtualization. So we are going to have 2, VMware VirtualBox and Proxmox. So when we are going to use VirtualBox and VMware, VMware or VirtualBox, we will be using at the beginning when we're basically starting understanding the hypervisor or like quick virtual machines. The pros of these is that we actually don't need a beefy computer. We can just like install like like small distribution distros like Linux distros or Windows distributions. So basically we don't need to spend a lot of money on it. For Proxmox, okay. Oh, before that, can I ask you who any of you did you actually play a little bit with virtualware and VirtualBox? Yeah, go ahead. Tay. Is that correct? It's called Tay, right? I think I can unmute you. Let me see. Oh, you are muted too. Shannon? Okay. So there are several people
Can you
here.
hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, I was just raising my hand to answer your question. I didn't have a question or anything.
Oh,
Victor, you're on mute.
I've been talking muted all the time.
Yep.
Oh no. Okay. I'm sorry. Uh I'm really sorry. Let me go back. Hold on.
It wasn't the
I
entire time, just like the
No,
last.
not the entire time. Just
No,
from
it's like
when.
30 seconds ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I am sorry. Okay. So did you get when I asked you guys about like if you used a VirtualBox or VMware? Yes, right?
Yeah, we heard that part.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I was like nervous because like there's like a lot of things here in my setup. Okay, so all right, so there's two, three people maybe that started like using VMware VirtualBox. That's fine, no worries. That's why we are here. We are going to learn how to use those applications or those software. So for the part of the center icon here that we have, it's Proxmox, right? Let me hold on. So what is Proxmox? So why we're going to use or when we're going to use Proxmox? We're going to use Proxmox because it's a bare metal hypervisor. So it's based on a Debian distribution. It's basically a it's basically a Linux distribution where we are going to build all the virtual machines inside. So we're going to create our fully infrastructure there. So this is like a tool that it's used on data centers, and it's also open source, so you can actually get it for free. And you are going to always have or take all the power of your computer and apply it to those virtual machines that you are going to install into. So when I said before about like the 32 gigabytes of RAM, you are actually not sharing that RAM with the host machine or the Windows or the Mac that you are having. It's all full RAM dedicated from that specific computer. So you have 32 gigabytes of RAM for virtual machines. There's also a paid version of Proxmox, but that's only for giving you support. So if you have any questions in relation to create virtual machines or you have any support questions, like you paid for that service. VMware also has like a paid version, like the Proxmox, but we are not going to cover here as it's a paid version and they have their own certifications and their own training too. Let you know that if you use VMware Player or the paid version of Player in Windows, you are able to also manage all these on-prem VMware workstation that you could have for your employer, for example. So for Proxmox, what we're going to basically do, like one of the examples that we will have like on Proxmox will be like a Windows server domain controller, a Windows 10 machine or workstation. We can have like a Kali as an attacker, or we can have also like a CM with a virtual machine with Elk, and also like a separate networking, network management user, DMC bridges, etc. So we can build all that stuff, all that infrastructure on here on Proxmox. And finally, AWS. Not going to be I put it here because it's a easy entry way to start deploying machines on the internet. And it's because like for new students, it's cool to see it in real life that you can actually communicate in to machines that are not as fake as like connecting in your home network. You have actually, if you want to create, when you create a machine in AWS, they will give you an IP address. So it's like go into the ocean of the internet and browse to your actually server. So it looks more professional. It gives you more sensation of like professionalism too. So we will be spinning fast EC2 instances. And as part of like one home, like cyber security lab environment, we will have like a VPC with like one defend machine or a vulnerable machine and an attacker machine. So both of them, they can talk to each other. So at the end of the course, what we will be having is basically in VMware, we will have like a Kali machine with like a workstation or a vulnerable machine that we can have communication between them. In Proxmox, we will have, as what I explained it, this little environment of Active Directory with a Kali machine with 3 or 4 machines. And in AWS, we will have like something similar of what we had in VMware and VirtualBox, but in the internet facing. One important thing that we need to understand too is that there should be hygiene and security when we deploy virtual machines, right? So the first thing that we need to know and we need to do is isolate every virtual machine if we know that are going to be vulnerable, or unless we want to expose specifically or is intentional. Uh, it's important to make snapshots or backups for those machines that are going to be used for development. For example, like changing settings on the operating system that we are virtualizing. It's a common industry standard that we are making snapshots before we make big changes. And important too is like every time that we install an ISO or we have a virtual machine just created, we need to update it, right? Like patch-based images is it's mandatory. All right, so let's continue with some networking basics for the labs. So we're going to cover a little bit of concepts, so key concepts here that are not only related to virtualization, but it's also common for computer science, right? The first one is IP addressing. So an IP address is basically a unique identifier that is assigned to like one specific device in a network, right? That IP address is where we're going to talk, or the address that some other computers are going to use to talk to you or to talk to that machine. A group of IP addresses create a subnet. Uh, this subnet can be segmented and basically a small portion of the network that we can have like an improved security or improve efficiency or have a specific communication protocols that are only available in that part of the network. And that comes from the next topic or the next important topic or definition, that is a DNS, right? The DNS or domain name system, what it does is translates human readable names, like for example, google.com or facebook.com, into IP addresses computers, right? To able to communicate. Instead of, I want to communicate with 192.168.83.52, we're going to do http // google.com or mail.victorinfrastructure.com, right? Another concept is the concept of firewalls. This concept is actually very interesting because we can have two different type of firewalls or like different systems that we can have in a network that are security tools that monitor or control incoming and outgoing network traffic, are called firewalls, or you can also have another tools that are called IDS or two, that basically what they do is control and detect or also stop traffic from moving through the network. And what they do is basically, when I said two type of firewalls, means that we can have networking firewalls and also host firewalls or virtual machine firewalls. So every computer that we have in our network, we can decide if we want to allow or deny incoming or outgoing traffic from that particular computer that we have in the network. Or if we have like a firewall that is actually inside of the network, that is basically a piece of hardware that it's um, routing every single transaction or communication between computers, we can actually say if we allow or deny a specific communication in any origin or destination ports. For example, a lot of firewall rules exist in enterprise environments. For example, have you tried to go to or open, for example, Telegram or go to, for example, like HTTP website in one corporate networks? They don't allow you to do that because normally the port 80, that is the standard protocol for HTTP, it's blocked. Sometimes, for example, another one is the SSH protocol. That is the protocol that goes on port 22. They don't allow you to use that in corporate networks. Or another one could be, I don't know, do you try to play Minecraft in the university? I tried. And the university was blocking every UDP protocol that was outbounding the university network. So you cannot communicate with the servers from some Minecraft. The next concept that we have here is the routing. So the routing is the process of directing network traffic between different networks of subnets to ensure that data reaches destination. So let me explain you a little bit with more graphics. So imagine that we have two computers, right? And one computer has the IP address of 192.168.3.7, right? 3.7. Let's focus on those things. And we have another computer in the same network that it's the same, 192.168.4.8, right? So we have 3.7 and 4.8. So unless they have hard-coded their IP addresses with their MAC address, or they previously know that that computer is that IP address, they're not going to talk if we don't have something in the middle that is acting as a router to able to routing between the communication between the node A and the node B, right? So we're bringing another device in the network called a router that everyone knows because you have one at home, probably the one that provides the ISP to you guys. But basically what it does is routes every single IP in all the entire network domain and sets before it's connected between computer A and computer B, B is or A saying, hey, I am 192.168.3.7. This is my MAC address. And the router knows that that particular IP address corresponds with one specific computer. So now when B wants to talk to A, the communication goes to the router, and the router decided to tell him, like, this is the IP address, you can connect to this person or to this computer. So as part of the communication, so virtual machines can communicate across NAT, bridget, and host-only networks. We will cover this a little bit more later. What is each communication part, or how the network interfaces for the virtual machines can be. So these are a little bit more key terms to know. These are a little bit more easier to understand because it's more focused on the virtualization. The first one is hypervisor. So the hypervisor is the software like VMware or VirtualBox used to create, run, and manage virtual machines. We have also a virtual machine, or VM, is a simulated computer that lets you safely test the software, attacks, or defenses without affecting your main system. So it's isolated or pseudo-isolated from your computer. So nothing can move. I'm going to put a quote here, from the virtual machine and the host computer. What is a network adapter? Is basically defining your virtual machines, how the virtual machine connects. So whether it's isolated, so host only, so it's only that machine exists in that network and nothing else. Like nobody can reach that computer, shared or NAT. So that means that virtual machine can only connect to the internet, but it's not, nobody else inside of or any other computer in the network can connect to it, or is actually fully exposed or bridged. So that means that the router that we were talking before is actually giving that VM network IP address. So in the host-only network, as I said, isolates your VM from the internet, allowing only communicated with the host system or any other virtual machines that are host-only on the same network adapter. Another term is the term of snapshot. So it's basically a saved state of your virtual machine that can you restore later, and it's useful for experimenting safely. As I said before, if you are going to make changes on your operating system and you don't know if you're going to break something, you can take a snapshot on that and then move on. And if you break something, you can come back without any issues there. And finally, an image backup is a full copy of the system or virtual machine that is basically used to recover errors or corruption. So once you have an image backup, it's basically a 20, 30, 40, 50 gigabytes of storage or an archive that is where your virtual machine is stored. Questions here so far? Are we good now? Still good? All right. So let's do a VMware overview of how is the application. So I'm going to stop now sharing my slides and we are going to do a little bit of overview. Looks like on the VirtualBox VMware side. All right. So here we go. Okay, hold on. Okay, share. I'm going to share the window and it's here, virtual machine library. Okay, can you see it right now? Yes, okay. All right, so here are basically all the virtual machines that I own or I have. Actually, I'm not going to share this thing like this. I'm going to share the entire screen so we can see the options. There we go. Okay. So here, you are probably, this is the Mac version of VMware Fusion, but you have Player also for Windows. So we have virtual machines here, and we have, if you have your initial virtual machines is where in this side of the screen are going to appear all of them. I have Kali Machine, Windows, and other Ubuntu ones that I use for testing too. But it's interesting that here we can go to settings and we can basically check settings to display default applications, the network, what we want to do with or network sharing settings for the entire application. Okay, then we can have there we go here. If we want to create a new virtual machine or if we want to import virtual machines, there's a lot of things we can do too. We can import or export virtual machines. So we can share that specific machine with other colleagues too, or we can actually import them to Proxmox that we will be covering that in round two. And if we, for example, want to create a new one, we have different methods. We can start from disk. If we have an ISO, we can actually import an existing machine, or we can, in the case of Mac, you can install from bootcamp or making a Windows here too. Another thing that is interesting here is that if we go to the options, thing was, yeah, here, for example, once we have the machine here, we have these different options, these different buttons. We can start the operating system, or we can manage the virtual machine management snapshot. So I only have one snapshot here, but we can create a new snapshot and we will take a snapshot on that. And then we have like a interface or like a nice visualization of how the snapshots are. And also we can manage the settings for that particular machine. I will cover more about this tomorrow, but basically allows us to go through the user if we want to put any notes, right? Of if we want to share documents between the virtual machines and your host system. We can see how many processors are we want to add, 2, 3, 4, up to 16. It's based on your hardware that you're hosting on the the VMware, or you can change like 3D graphics to make it more smooth. And in the parts of the removable devices, we can share with a Mac or basically make it as a bridge. So if I make it a bridge, the Kali Linux is going to have an IP address from my local network, or if right now it's sorry, internet sharing means it's a NAT, and a bridge networking is basically giving you an IP address from my network. We have different advanced options too, so we can change MAC addresses. That's something that you guys are not going to see unless you want to change something like the MAC address. But I will not worry about this. We can actually create more if we want to. We can create a new add devices network adapters too. So if we want to have a second network adapter, so we can have one machine with two different subnets, we can have that too. Here is also, we can see the hard drive disk, how many gigabytes of RAM this virtual machine has, and pretty much this standardized, like nothing else. It's like, it's up to you if you want to go through that. It's a good exercise if you want to go and interact with the applications once you have it installed. So the second part that the next overview is for VirtualBox, and I have here VirtualBox too. I'm going to put side to side just because so you guys understand that are basically very similar. So if you understand VirtualBox or VMware, you actually understand one or the other. So it's preference. Like I like VMware because it's better supported. Well, it's supported by Huawei. The other one is supported by Oracle. I like more VMware because it's nicer, it's neater. Although like VirtualBox has been changed a lot, like the user interface in the last couple of years, right? But it's the same. We can import or export virtual machines. We can create a new one where we can select where we want it. This is basically the same. The same kind of configurations that we have. For example, if we want to create a new virtual machines on VirtualBox, we just need to put test here. We would select where we want to store that virtual machine. We select where is the ISO, for example, that we want to install. In this case, for example, is a Debian. And then automatically decide or understand which is the type of Linux distribution it is. Changing the base memory, we can put up to 65 gigabytes of RAM based on your hardware system or the amount of processors. This is the same. It's a little bit, I have to say, it's a little bit better or easy to configure in VirtualBox or more friendly in this part than what is in VirtualBox, because you have to create one in VMware and then modify the settings before you already started the virtual machine. So, but this is the main it's not a big difference. That's how you will creating, and you actually can add another VMs too. So this is my main difference between two of them. Let's go back to the presentation. We also cover VirtualBox, and now we're going to go to Proxmox. So in order to do it a little bit more interactive too, we are going to open Proxmox here. So this is basically the same, the website. I'm going to put it for you guys in the chat. So because right now I don't have Proxmox installed in this computer, we will have it for the next sessions. We're going to cover a little bit more of the overview of how is Proxmox, okay? So here in this screenshot, this is the last version of Proxmox, that is version 9. You will have here the data center, is what is this called. So you have different machines. And inside of the data centers, you have different subnets here. And inside of the subnets, you have different virtual machines or boxes or oh my god, containers, right? So you can actually see the statistics for that specific like data center too. So we can have here. If we go to a different one, is as another terminal for the portal too. We can see the CPU usage for that specific machine and the memory usage too in this side here, very graphically too. In terms of if we create machines too, pretty straightforward. We have summary, console, hardware, options monitor. We will be covering this in the next future sessions, but like it's a good overview that you can see that it's more professional and they give you more options to change things, right? You can have actually access to a terminal from the VM. So if you want to um send commands directly from your data center, you can do it actually. You don't have to open the machine in an hypervisor and execute the commands. And pretty much this is a little bit like the Proxmox. In this one, for example, do you remember when I said that you can export virtual machines in VirtualBox? You can actually import them in this way here. So we just added that OVA virtual machine that we exported in VirtualBox and imported in Proxmox. More information about EXE for VMware. Um, more virtual environment, cluster summary, advanced backup settings with pleasing, basically like professional and what you probably were going to see in enterprise environments too. So let's back to the presentation. So what are the key ways? So we basically what we did today. So we learned the theory of different virtualization environment currently in the market. You understood about networking fundamentals applies to virtual machine infrastructure. You can also initial overview or knowledge of virtual VMware, VirtualBox, and Proxmox hypervisors and their main differences. And what we're going to do next in the next session, what we're going to do is go in depth with hands-off on virtualization using VMware and VirtualBox, and we will be learning how to install, build, and set up different virtual machines on your computer. I said installed, but if you guys want to have VMware or VirtualBox installed for next week, we can pass that and we can go actually and build and set up different virtual machines so you can actually are more hands-on, and I'm here for your support too. So if you have any questions related to the course, please email me. This is my email from Kyora IQ. Or if you can, or you have questions right now, or we have more time actually, so I can answer any other questions related to the industry. Happy here to answer any questions you may have.
Hey guys. Okay, so again, for everyone's reminder, this is definitely a mentoring session. So, and the course is designed to where it's only 30 to 45 minutes of instruction. The other hour is time for you guys to ask questions. So if you have questions about his journey, about the industry, like he said, about any of the things that you guys covered today, if you're confused about anything, or if you're not sure that your computer, if you have the right materials are ready to get started, this is the time that you ask questions. Because like he said, the next session, you guys are actually going to start building. So again, don't be shy. Ask questions now.